Hey everyone, welcome. I hope you're all doing well today. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you enjoy the content. In this video, we're going to talk about 7 legendary items that I truly miss from League of Legends. Over the years, Riot Games has removed many items to balance the game and introduce new mechanics. However, some of these items were so iconic that their removal changed the game forever. League of Legends used to be very different. The map was more complex, jungle camps had different mechanics, and of course, we had some truly legendary items. But over time, Riot removed many of them to balance the game. Today, I'm going to talk about 7 items that I personally miss. These items made certain champions much stronger and allowed for unique playstyles that no longer exist. If you miss old school LOL, this video is for you. Let's take a nostalgic trip and jump into the list. Hextech Gunblade used to be one of the most powerful items for hybrid champions, offering a perfect blend of both attack damage, AD, and ability power, AP. But what really made it stand out were its unique passive and active abilities. Stats: plus 40 attack damage, 80 ability power. Active deals instant magic damage to the target and heals you. Passive: any damage you deal heals you continuously. Why was it so strong? This item was a game changer for champions like Akali, Katarina, Vladimir, and Jax. It gave hybrid champions the ability to burst down enemies while also keeping themselves alive in fights. Take Akali, for example. She could deal insane damage while simultaneously healing, making her feel nearly unkillable in skirmishes. This synergy allowed players to outlast their opponents and dominate in team fights. Why was it removed? Well, Riot felt it was just too strong, especially on champions like Katarina and Akali. The sustain it provided was too difficult to counter, and these champions became almost unstoppable once they had Hextech Gunblade. While Riot introduced alternative AP items over time, none of them truly replaced the impact that Hextech Gunblade had on the game. So yeah, this item was a legend, and it's no wonder it still holds a special place in the hearts of many players. Deathfire Grasp, DFG, was one of the most iconic burst AP items in League of Legends, allowing mages and assassins to unleash insane amounts of damage in just a few seconds. Stats: plus 120 ability power, plus 10% cooldown reduction. Active: deals 15% of the target's current HP as magic damage and increases the target's damage taken by 20% for the next 4 seconds. Why was it so strong? DFG was a must-have for champions like Veigar, LeBlanc, Ahri, Annie, and Katarina. The active ability was what made this item so deadly. It amplified your spells, allowing you to chain massive burst combos that could instantly obliterate enemies. With DFG, AP assassins could easily delete squishy targets by following up with their ultimates, often leaving no time for the enemy to react. Why was it removed? Riot decided to remove Deathfire Grasp because the burst damage it provided was simply too oppressive. It gave very little counterplay and allowed AP assassins to dominate fights by deleting enemies in the blink of an eye. In place of DFG, Riot introduced items like Luden's Echo and others that provided sustained damage, allowing for more balanced gameplay over time. While DFG was a blast for those who love the high-risk, high-reward burst playstyle, its removal shifted the game toward more strategic and consistent damage options. If you played tank champions, Force of Nature, Foe was truly a dream come true. Stats: plus 76 magic resist, plus 8% movement speed. Passive regenerates 1.75% of your max HP per second. Why was it so strong? Force of Nature was the ultimate anti-magic item for tanks. It made champions like Singed, Dr. Mundo, Cho'Gath, and Maokai nearly unkillable against magic damage. The passive regeneration kept these champions tanky, while they could sustain themselves in the thick of battle. The combination of magic resist, movement speed, and health regeneration made it a must-have for tanks who wanted to survive against AP, ability power champions, while still being a menace on the battlefield. Why was it removed? Riot wanted to diversify tank itemization and create more unique and balanced options for tanks. Force of Nature was removed in favor of items like Gargoyle Stoneplate and Spirit Visage, which offered more varied mechanics and playstyles for tanky champions. Although it's no longer in the game, Force of Nature will always be remembered as a key item for tank players. Leviathan was a stacking item designed specifically for tank champions, similar to Magi's Soul Stealer and Sword of the Occult, but tailored for those on the front line. Stats: plus 180 health. Passive: gain plus 32 health per kill or assist, max 20 stacks. At 20 stacks, grants 15% damage reduction. Why was it so strong? Leviathan was a game changer for tank champions like Cho'Gath, Rammus, Singed, and Maokai. Once you reached 20 stacks, you gained 15% damage reduction, making you nearly unkillable in fights. It gave tanks the ability to soak up tons of damage while still being a serious threat. However, like Magi's, it had a high-risk, high-reward mechanic. If you died, you lost all your stacks, making it a delicate balancing act. Why was it removed? Riot removed Leviathan because stacking items for tanks were incredibly difficult to balance. A tank with 20 stacks could become an unstoppable juggernaut, leading to gameplay that felt unfair, especially in late-game teamfights. Instead of Leviathan, Riot introduced new tank items like Gargoyle Stoneplate and others to provide better and more balanced ways for tanks to scale and survive. Leviathan may be gone, but it definitely left its mark on the game as one of the most memorable stacking items for tanks. Heart of Gold was a must-have item for supports and tanks, offering a passive gold income that helped them scale into the late game without needing to fight for every bit of gold. Stats: plus 200 health, passive, grants 5 gold every 10 seconds. Why was it so strong? Heart of Gold was perfect for champions like Leona, Alistar, and Maokai. It allowed them to build tanky while still generating gold over time. This passive gold income helped supports and tanks scale into the late game without needing kills or CS, creep score, which made it an essential item for many champions. It gave them the ability to keep up with item progression even while focusing on protecting their team, rather than having to farm or get kills. Why was it removed? Riot eventually changed the gold income system and introduced new support items with gold generation, replacing Heart of Gold. But let's be honest, nothing truly replaced Heart of Gold's unique way of letting tanks and supports get their gold without needing to be aggressive. Heart of Gold may be gone, but it's still remembered fondly by those who played tank and support roles. Sword of the Occult was an item designed for champions who wanted to snowball and stack their way to victory. It was very similar to Magi's Soul Stealer and Leviathan, but focused on attack damage champions. Stats: plus 10 attack damage, passive. Every kill grants plus 2 stacks, assist grants plus 1 stack, max 20 stacks. At 20 stacks, grants 100 attack damage and 20% bonus movement speed. Why was it so strong? This item was perfect for assassins like Zed, Rengar, Master Yi, Talon, and Fiora. Once you stacked it up, you became an absolute powerhouse. With 100 extra attack damage and bonus movement speed, you could quickly become nearly impossible to stop. If you were able to snowball early and get those stacks going, you could dominate the game and leave your enemies in the dust. Why was it removed? Riot ultimately removed Sword of the Occult because stacking items like this became too punishing if you died. If you had stacked the item and then got killed, it could set you back massively, and that unpredictability made it too risky to use. Instead of Sword of the Occult, Riot introduced items like Duskblade, Prowler's Claw, and Eclipse as alternatives. These gave similar power, but with a more balanced and less punishing mechanic. So, while Sword of the Occult was an iconic item for snowballing champions, its removal helped balance the game and shift the focus to more reliable power scaling. Atma's Impaler was an item that allowed bruisers and tanky champions to deal serious damage while still being tough to kill. Stats: plus 45 armor, plus 15% critical strike chance. Gain bonus attack damage based on your max HP. Why was it so strong? Atma's Impaler was perfect for bruisers and tanky champions who wanted to dish out damage without sacrificing durability. Champions like Renekton, Garen, and Nasus could stack health while still hitting hard thanks to the bonus attack damage based on their max HP. It gave these champions the ability to become both incredibly tanky and deal a lot of damage, making them dangerous both in the front line and in fights. Why was it removed? Riot eventually removed Atma's Impaler because they didn't want tanks to deal too much damage. The item made it too easy for tanky champions to not only soak up damage, but also deal substantial amounts of damage, which was something Riot wanted to avoid for balance reasons. Though it's no longer in the game, Atma's Impaler was definitely a key item for bruisers and tanks during its time.